420 MSP, having morning coffee here with Drew Taylor over at Alpha Root. Drew, good morning. Let me take another sip.
Good morning, Harry. How are you?
Good, good. Hey, I'm really excited about this, Tell Us Your Story podcast because I have actually looked into some of the different types of professional service providers in the cannabis industry, right? So there's a community for the accountants and CPAs. I had the honor of meeting someone in the insurance business, such as yourself, who's now at Steamboat Springs. Talk to me. Give me the landscape of your line of work, the insurance business in the cannabis segment. What's going on?
Sure. I think I'd be remiss to not kind of give you the background of Alpha Root as well. I think that kind of helps paint a picture for
Sure.
kind of moving forward. So we're the subsidiary of a larger entity called Founder Shield. Founder Shield at its inception about 10 years ago kind of focused on what I'll call the emerging market space. So think cryptocurrency, autonomous vehicles, and cannabis.
Okay.
Obviously not a lot of states were legal 10 years ago at that time, but obviously saw some optimism in the space, and legalization was rising. So about 5 years ago, took Alpha Root out as a separate brand. The branding is nice in the cannabis space, and one of the things that we always try to do and try to say to our prospects and our clients is, we kind of view ourselves more as a cannabis company that happens to do risk management insurance, as opposed to, suits in New York that only do risk management insurance, and cannabis just happens to be one of the industries we focus in.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of the birth of Alpha Root, and kind of our focus. We're an insurance brokerage that focuses solely in the cannabis hemp CBD space. So we kind of get it. We understand the risks that our insureds have on a daily basis. So that's kind of the background. And then just the entity as a whole, we are New York based. So, obviously it's great to see New York come online in the last couple of weeks, and then with Jersey over the past 6 months. So certainly some exciting news for us East Coasters.
Yeah, absolutely. What makes the insurance business unique in cannabis? And I'm trying to frame it up with that community of CPAs and bookkeepers that I know. There's some real unique things they have to watch, right? With the banking system, of course, and then the taxation area. Do you have the same thing, or is it just like any other SMB, any other business?
Yeah, I think it's so from an insurance perspective, I think cannabis kind of ties most closely with pharmaceuticals, and I think it will continue to do so. There's obviously, tightened, whether it be state or federal regulation or lack thereof, around cannabis, and I think that's around for the long term. I think what kind of differentiates the cannabis space from maybe other industries is just the market capacity, and what I mean by that is the insurance carriers that'll play in the space and actually entertain cannabis risk. Definitely more limited market than what you'll see in other industries, and I think that's where we struggle on a daily basis is more or less just finding the insurance capacity, if you will, for our insureds. And I think that's the real differentiator and why we wanted to focus on the industry. It's just constantly evolving and changing, and you kind of have to have your finger on the pulse on a daily basis. Not too dissimilar from kind of banking regulation, tax regulation, and that's constantly changing as well.
Yeah, and the only constant is change. Is your industry in this particular vertical set up such as if I were a lawyer, and there are cannabis lawyers, there's some really well-known firms. Zuber Lawler out of the Los Angeles area is probably number one in my eyes, 5 or 6 offices. And so if I'm a lawyer, I join the American Bar Association, right? And I can go to the annual conference, and there may even be a track on what makes the cannabis industry unique. There's probably today at least one lecture. Is there an association that you voluntarily or have to join in your business? And then would there be an annual conference where you could meet people just like you and trade notes?
Sure. So there's no organization that solely focuses on insurance, to my knowledge. Now, there are professional organizations that leave room for the insurance space as a whole. So think of the NCIA. They have a group of risk management and insurance professionals, right? So like while they're focused on other areas and not just insurance as a whole, they still have a group of industry professionals there. There's other groups like the NCRMA is a captive that's launching, but they also have kind of um, an education arm associated with them in the risk management space. So I'd say more groups probably focus on risk management and not insurance, and they're two different things, right? One is
Yeah.
kind of
Oh,
how you
okay.
manage your risk, and the other one's how you insure it or how you transfer it. So one of them's changing money, and the other one's how to manage risk. So I think there's probably more groups available for like the risk management world, but they're certainly out there for insurance.
Well, and what I'm getting at is professionals like to hang out with like-minded professionals, right? And the point is, I could see you going to a conference and 5 or 6 of you sitting around trading notes. Oh man, I did this and I did that. I really enjoy that part of being a professional, right? And it's a big ocean, right? There's room for everybody. Finally, how at a high level, how do you get business? Do you go to some of the the trade shows like MJ Biz and have a booth, or do you go knock on doors or cold call? I'm just curious what the motion is because it's a different industry.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, we definitely do some kind of cold outreach. I think cold calls and outreach is kind of a way of the past. So we've really focused our attention on kind of content creation, leveraging our connections, growing our LinkedIn network and our page, and just showing ourselves as a thought leader in the space. The other thing that we've done, and it kind of goes back to my first point of viewing ourselves as a cannabis company, is we've tried to get as involved as we possibly can in the community, kind of insurance aside. So we belong to a group of probably 400 industry executives called Trailblazers Presents, and they get together 2 or 3 times a year, and just kind of have meetings set up, predetermined schedules. It's a good time just to kind of touch base with those that work in a daily basis at the ground
Yeah.
floor in some of these cannabis companies. Um,
Yeah, and I have a bias towards events, if you can't tell. And this is pre-pandemic, when events were a thing, and they're going to be a thing. There's definitely pent-up demand. But I built my original company, SMB Nation, on what I called Hallway 101, right? Go to events. I went to some events, some Microsoft. I didn't even go to lecture. I didn't even go to lecture at some Microsoft events. I just was making introductions, walking the floor, hitting the booths. You know what I mean? And
mhm.
Drew, it worked. It maybe not in 30 days, but boy, a few years later, and it's like, wow, that really worked. Well, hey, Drew, we're going to get you back next quarter. If you could do me a favor and be thinking about what maybe has changed when we talk to you in about 90 days, about a quarter, let me know what incremental changes you're seeing, maybe new regulations or this or that. And I'm over on your page. So folks, it's alpharoot.co. And under white papers, I'm going to fill out the form as soon as we drop the cannabis industry and insurance ebook. So I'm going to go grab it. I'm probably not the type of lead you're looking for in the form, but I'm going to grab your book.
Yeah, absolutely. Give it a read. New one should launch in about 30 days or so for this upcoming year. So keep your eyes peeled for
All
a
right.
new
So that'll
white
be
paper
about
that'll go live.
mid spring. Okay, my friend. Thank you very much. Have a
All right.
great
Thanks,
day.
Harry. Yeah, you as well. Thanks.